So today's message is a continuation of last week's message. If you remember, we discussed the beginning of Moses, and the Lord chose him and his brother Aaron to go before the Pharaoh and to command the Pharaoh to let the children of Israel go, so they could go in the wilderness for 3 days and 3 nights to worship Jehovah their God. Well, that's on the pretext of leaving Egypt. They've been in Egypt, as we all know, for 440 years. They've been slaves, Hebrew slaves. And so let's go to Exodus again. Exodus 7. So Lord said to Moses, "See, I have made you as God to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall be your prophet. You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron your brother shall tell Pharaoh to send the children of Israel go." And then it continues, "And I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt." So God is saying you're going to go before him. And so basically he goes before him time after time after time, 10 times, 9 times before the Pharaoh lets the children of Israel go. And God does that purposefully. We will discuss why God hardens, doesn't allow Pharaoh to let the children go. Sometimes God will harden some people in your life to get against you, to hurt you, to make it hard for you. Okay, he will design people like that in your life to make it hard for you. There's a purpose for that. Some things, God does it. There's a purpose, and I will tell you the purpose. The first plague is water becomes blood. He makes all the water into blood. The second plague, this is very funny, is frogs all over the land. And then when Moses goes in front of Pharaoh, this is really funny, and says, "Okay, Pharaoh says, okay, stop, just, I'll let you go. Just stop this darn frogs from coming into our houses and our pans and just everywhere frogs." So Moses says, "Okay, I will. Anytime you ask me." He says, when would you like me to get rid of the frogs?" He says, "Tomorrow." Why would you want to spend another night with the frogs? Give me a break. The third plague, lice all over. The fourth plague, flies, all over flies. The fifth plague, livestock deceased. All the livestock, every single thing is dying. The sixth plague, boils on their body. The seventh plague, hail. The eighth plague, locusts. So the eighth plague, locusts. The ninth plague, darkness. And the last plague, as we all know, is death of all the firstborn. So God says, okay, this time, the 10th plague, what I'm going to do, he's going to beg the Hebrews to leave out of his country. Moses, don't worry. The 10th one is the last one. So he kills all the firstborn children, the flocks, just everything that's firstborn. And as he said, basically, he lets them go. He says, "Get out of here. Just get out. I don't want your people. Just get out as soon as possible." Now listen to this. This is very powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Exodus 12 and 35. Now you will know why he hardened Pharaoh's heart. "Now the children of Israel had done according to the word of Moses, and they had asked from the Egyptians articles of silver, articles of gold, and clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they granted them what they requested. Thus they plundered the Egyptians." So again, Exodus 12:35. "Now the children of Israel had done according to the word of Moses, and they had asked from the Egyptians articles of silver, articles of gold, and expensive clothing, silk, wool, you name it. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they granted them what they requested." Everything that they asked, they knocked on their doors of the Egyptians and asked them for silver, asked them for gold. They gave all of their wealth to these people just so they could leave, like, "Get out. We're tired of you. Get out." Thus they plundered the Egyptians. They basically extorted them and robbed them, technically. However, that wasn't robbing. You know why that wasn't robbing? Because they've been slaves for 440 years. Guess what? God will pay you back. When you're in sin, when you come out of sin, God will pay you back. Not hardened Pharaoh's heart and brought all those terrible and horrific plagues to all the Egyptians, he would never have been sore vexed and exasperated by these Hebrews, okay? And as a result, they basically gave their all just to get rid of them. So God had that in mind. Number one, that was number one. Number two reason, he says in the scriptures, I don't have time to read, that I want all the Egyptians to know who Jehovah is, to know who your God is. I'm gonna allow him, I'm gonna harden his heart so that he doesn't let you go. And so therefore, you will show all the wonders by my hand. And that all the world, all the other nations will know what I did to the Egyptians. And all the other nations, you know, over and over again, after they get out of Egypt, all the other nations are basically, they're afraid of these Hebrews because of their God, and because all the world, all the other nations were talking about what their God had done to these Egyptians, okay? And then, you know, in the end, I didn't read that, he opens up the Red Sea while they're going. Now, God didn't take them through there was a shorter route to Canaan, but through Philistine, but God didn't want the shorter route because he said you might be scared and stand back and not to proceed with the journey. So he took them around. He took them the long route. So while they were going, they had the Egyptians on their back. Listen to this. Nothing else, and the ocean in front of them. So you're stuck. So they started complaining. Is this why you brought us here? They started complaining and getting angry. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? The Egyptians are gonna kill us. So basically, after the death of the firstborn, they get all the gold, they get all the jewelry. Ladies and gentlemen, they have so much gold that the children are carrying the gold. And scholars say that they had so much wealth on their backs that they weren't walking straight. They had hunched backs. When God blesses you, you will have no room to contain it. That's how he blesses you. When he brings you out of sin, you know, when he brings you out of sin, when you give your life to Christ, guess what? He's gonna pay you. He's gonna pay you for all the time that Satan hindered your life and ruined your life. You think you're living a good life, but you're not. Satan is killing you and pressuring. Can you imagine how terrible the Pharaoh was after the death of his child, who was his only child, one and only child, who was going to be next in line for the king, for the Pharaoh. So he lets them go. And then while they're journeying, while the Hebrews are journeying, it was about over 2 million Hebrews. While they were journeying, they changed their mind. And he said, what have I done? I let these Hebrews go. Let's go get them. So they go after them with these chariots and horses and just swords and all that, with all the army. We got them. They have the Red Sea in front of them. They can't go anywhere. So they're stuck. The Hebrews are stuck. So what does God do? God says to Moses, Moses starts complaining and says, what am I going to do, God? I don't know what to do. He says, touch the ocean with the rod and just continue going. Just proceed on going. So the Red Sea opens up and the Red Sea opens up, and it says there were walls. The waters parted and they literally became walls. What was going to kill them protected them. You have walls on your right and a wall on your left. So they journey. Mind you, there was no sick or unhealthy or old. All of a sudden, everybody was healthy. When God brought the Egyptians out, they were all healthy. He gave them health and wealth and prosperity and strength. So they walked onto the other side, and they're going, there you go with the chariots. The Egyptians are behind them with the chariots. We got them, we got them, we got them. So what God does is loosen the wheels and just makes it all, it just messes it up. So obviously they can't walk all the way there. So the oceans come on top of them. I'm guilty of this too. Most of the time, sometimes God will put us in a situation, our life becomes so foggy that we can't see our front. We don't know where we're going. We don't know how we're going to get out of this situation, out of this sickness, this family issues, this problems, just anything, you name it. We don't know how we're going to come out of this fire, how we're going to come out of this ocean, but God always makes a way. But you know what? You know when he makes a way? He doesn't make a way when you're far away and he parts the ocean. No. You have to have so much faith to start walking in the ocean, and then the ocean opens up, okay? You can't just stand and wait and say, well, God, are you going to open the ocean? Are you going to part the Red Sea? Are you going to part the Red Sea? No. It's called faith, darling. Unless you start walking, he's not going to do anything. That's powerful. No matter what situation God puts you in, don't you ever dare to doubt God. Doubting is a sign of worship, not to God, to Satan himself. Do not ever doubt. God says in the scriptures, people who have faith pleases me. You know how you please them? You know how you please God is your faith. You have to have faith. And faith doesn't come easy. You have to have faith for the impossible. There was a reason why he hardened Pharaoh's heart, okay? You saw why he hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that they will get wealthy. There's a reason why he's hardening some situations in your life and not allowing it to go forward. Because it's not the finished product. God sees the finished product. You don't see it. You don't see it. So don't judge God and say, there's nothing how is this going to move forward? This is impossible. Nothing is impossible with God, okay? Nothing is impossible with God. He will do it.